Hello, welcome to Monday's Nots Today with me, Emma Caldwell, playing the part of Al Booth today. Hope you've had a lovely weekend. Here's what's on the show. First, we'll hear from members of a knitting and talking group who fear their lifeline is at risk due to planned library opening hour cuts.
There is somebody who, because of family commitments, won't be able to get at all. And if the hours are later on an afternoon, which they're talking about, do you really want to go home through the middle of town on a bus on a dark, wet winter's night? No.
Have more on that shortly. Plus, as we're in the height of summer, you might be looking at your garden and wondering how to keep it blooming wonderful. Well, you're in luck, because in just a few minutes we're going to be catching up with the brilliant Stuart Dixon from the Nottinghamshire Garden, who's here to give you some tips on how to keep your plants glowing heading into the autumn. Plus, later on in the show, we've got an interview with pop music royalty after Helen Barnes from Love and 80s Music caught up with Midge Ure ahead of his Nottingham show next year.
If it's one of those shows that if you don't really know, if you only know Vienna and you only know Fade to Grey or whatever, come along. There's a lot more in there that you will recognise than you would think you would.
And in sport, we're going to be hearing from Notts County head coach Martin Patterson after the Pies drew with Cardiff in a pre-season clash at Meadow Lane.
I thought there was an added aggression on both sides of the ball in second half, which I wanted. I think that's why the coaching staff half-time is really important, to relay these messages about how we play when we're at Meadow Lane.
And we're also going to be hearing from Forest playmaker Morgan Gibbs-White after he put pen to paper on a surprise new deal at the City Ground.
I'm delighted, so thank you to Mr Marinakis for believing in me. I feel like we've been on a roller coaster of a journey, but I've felt the love instantly from the very first moment I stepped into the doors.
We've got all that and of course loads more coming up just for you. But first, Nottingham knitters are concerned that they will lose a lifeline of friendship and well-being. The Knit and Natter group meet at the South Glade Park Library every Thursday, but due to City Council making cuts of more than £1.5 million to local library services, which means its opening hours will be reduced, this has caused worry for the group, as they say moving it to another day will make it difficult to attend in the colder months. Our local Democracy reporters met with some of the members to hear their concerns.
The group means a lot to me because before I used to stay at home all day. I suffer from mental health issues, so coming here, it's made me, it's brought me out of my shell, sort of thing. You know, they're a great bunch of ladies. We have a laugh and a joke, and you know, we just all get on so well together.
Our group itself, there is somebody who, because of family commitments, won't be able to get at all. There's others who travel on buses, and if the hours are later on an afternoon, which they're talking about, do you really want to go home through the middle of town on a bus on a dark, wet winter's night? No, is the most honest answer to that one for most of us.
Like my friend says, you know, there's people that are carers, and you know, they won't be able to come anymore. And I'd be one that might not come because of the times and that, because sometimes I look after my granddaughter's dog. You know, so, you know, she's only a puppy, but yeah, it'll mean a lot.
And Nottingham City Council says it needs to cut just over £1.5 million from its library services over the next 2 years to become more financially sustainable. But the authority did not provide further comment on the group's concerns. Next, and as we're in the height of summer, you may have seen many of your plants growing, blooming and begin to wilt away. You might be thinking that that's it for your garden until next spring and begin to neglect your plants in the flower beds. But please do not do that, because there is such a lot you can do to keep your garden looking blooming wonderful all the way into the autumn and beyond. And I'm very pleased to say it's not my advice that's going to help you. Joining us now to tell us more is our very own Stuart Dixon, presenter of the Nottinghamshire Garden. Stuart, it's always lovely to see you. So what should we be doing with our garden at this time of year?
Keep it well watered.
Okay.
Keep it well watered. I mean, it's very, very high temperatures. But there's nothing new in that. I had temperatures last year as well. But the climate changes, actually its seasons been changing, and they've been changing since the 1950s. You don't get snow anymore.
Yeah.
I think what we probably will be getting is milder, wetter winters, and hot summers. So we've got to start to look at what we grow that a bit sort of drought resistant.
Because I feel like it always changes, because you know, if you're reading your bulbs and things, the packets, and it says, you know, plant in February or whenever, that presumably isn't the case anymore.
No, you've got to use your common sense in some ways. I mean, I remember reading something, plant out in February and there's a foot of snow on the ground. You can't do that, you know. But the main thing is watering. I mean, I tend to water at night. People say, well, I water in the daytime, not at... There's no rights and wrongs, to be quite honest. But watering at night, especially in pots and containers, I've got mine standing in trays, so I keep that full of water. I try to avoid watering in the daytime, because beads of water on foliage in hot sun can act as a little magnifier and start to burn your leaves, get marks in your leaves.
See, that is good advice. My husband constantly tells me, stop watering the garden in the height of midday.
It's a personal choice, really.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice.
I mean, it makes sense when you say that. So what should we be doing? If we've had these plants, they've bloomed, they've looked lovely, and we've thought, actually, well, that might be it now.
Well, deadheads for one thing. I mean, roses, I've got a lot of roses. They're going over now and they're forming the hips. Deadhead them. Take that off now, they'll flower again, and keep deadheading. It can be a bit of a bind.
Will they flower again this year? Or do we have to... Oh.
Yeah, a lot of repeat flowers, and the hybrid teas flower continuously. Some of the shrub roses, the older ones, only flower once, but they'll be making new wood for next year. But if you leave the hips on, all the energy goes into making seed. If you take that off, it'll flower again. It tricks it into... I mean, it's the same with all sorts of things. The more you deadhead, even antirrhinum, snapdragons, take the dead flowers off and they'll keep going again. Keep it going as long as you can.
I like that. Now, I want to talk to you about the grass, because my husband pretty obsessed with the grass in our garden, and it's not a huge bit of grass, but he tends to it and loves it and reseeds it, and it just looks rubbish.
Goes yellow.
Pardon?
Goes yellow.
Totally yellow, and I feel like there's been like deluges of the rain, and then I feel like it gets a bit flooded, and then it's so dry because it's so hot. What can we do with the grass?
It'll recover. It will recover. When you mow it, don't scalp it. In other words, set the blades a little bit higher, and just take the top off. Take any seed heads off on that when you see the grass goes to seed. Because I've got lawns in my garden, I've got grass.
Yeah.
There's a distinct difference
I feel like
between lawns and
very
grass.
fancy.
But it goes yellow. I remember, not this year, it's been bad this year, but the previous year, looking at where we live, looking across the River Trent towards Shelford and that way, it just looked like the Australian outback.
Really?
Everything was dead and yellow.
Oh,
and people say, no, it's all dead. Couple of nights of rain and it turns green more or less overnight.
I'll tell them there's still chance for
when it starts to green, don't rush out with your mower straight away. Give it a bit of growth.
That's a good tip. And there's loads of great events that are taking place if you're a keen gardener as well. You've got one to tell us about.
There's the Loudon Show, which is on Bank Holiday Monday, 25th of August. And the show has actually been going since 1893.
Wow.
I've not been there since 1893. But it's a very, very good show. It's £3 to go in. It starts at 1 o'clock and it's in the grounds of the Village Hall in Loudon. Parking's a bit difficult, but when you go to the Loudon roundabout, you'll see a parking sign. Follow that down, walk at the side of the Dover back and over the back way into it.
Lovely.
No problem.
Good parking advice.
Yeah.
I like that, Stuart. So what's going to be taking place there?
Lots of things there. There's fruit, there's veg, there's photographic competitions, floral art, produce, classes for young persons. There's a whole lot of things going on, and there are sideshows and stalls, refreshments until 4 in the afternoon. And then there's various events by the Nottingham Concert Band, Deco Flying Angels. There's a duck race, that's always interesting as well.
I love it. That's the Loudon Show on Bank Holiday
weekend. It's something that I think is slowly disappearing in this country now.
Yeah, I do.
The village shows.
They're good to have, so pop that date in your diary.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about it more, but we've run out of time now.
I always do, don't I?
Stuart, thank you so much for
Been a
coming
pleasure
in and
to be
talking
here.
to us. Pleasure,
Thanks very much
absolutely.
indeed.
All mine. All right, moving on to some other Notts news now. And police say they'll continue to target troublemakers at football stadiums as the new season starts this weekend. Nottinghamshire Police made 119 arrests across last season whilst they policed the City Ground, Meadow Lane and Field Mill, which accounts for about 0.01% of all fans. Of these arrests, 53 people were either charged or summoned to court, with nearly half relating to drug offences following a fray and hate crime. The force said they want people to feel comfortable attending matches without crime. Next, and a man who hid in a loft from police after breaching an order to protect domestic violence survivors has been jailed. 27-year-old Leon Lincoln disregarded the conditions of a domestic violence protection order twice when he showed up at the address of an ex-partner in Bassetlaw. After being found by police there in June, he fled and jumped over a fence but was arrested. Lincoln then returned to the address again this month and tried to hide in a loft. Lincoln of Gateford Road in Worksop was jailed for 21 days at Nottingham Magistrate Court. Next, and a family have paid tribute to a beloved dad after he died in a motorcycle crash. 38-year-old Stephen Morris was taken to hospital with serious injuries after his bike collided with two cars on Alfreton Road in Underwood on July the 20th. He died a short time later despite the best efforts of emergency services, and in a statement shared by Nottinghamshire Police, his family said they were desperately heartbroken and devastated by the loss of a family man and devoted father. Police also say anyone who can help with their investigations should call them on 101. All right, it's time for a short break now, but when we get back, we are going to be hearing from the legend Midge Ure after he caught up with our lovely friend Helen Barnes at Loving 80s Music. Plus, we've got your sports roundup too, including a surprise contract extension for Morgan Gibbs-White at Forest. All of that and plenty more Notts news and views for your Monday afternoon. All on the way. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome back to Monday's show with me, Emma Calder. I hope you're okay today. Thank you so much for being with us. Here's what's happening in Notts today. First, and Nottinghamshire County Council faces spending an additional £50 million on supported living for young adults with learning disabilities. The reform-led authority needs to find more than 500 extra units within the next 5 years to meet the demand for young adults needing supported living. And whilst 83 units have already been found, the council expects the added pressure to increase its spending in the service by £53 million, on top of the £84 million budget allocated last year. However, the council says funds will be diverted to cover the spending. Next, Anna Wildlife Trust is preparing to remove an unsafe footbridge at a nature reserve ahead of a replacement being installed. The Works Bridge at Attenborough Nature Reserve was forced to close in April 23 after safety inspections. Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust will submit plans for a replacement to Broxtowe Borough Council, with the entire project to cost about £375,000. Work is underway to create an access route to remove the old bridge and install its replacement, with positive and constructive conversations ongoing with the council. All right, moving on now, and we're about to hear from some more music royalty, and that is because our lovely friends here at Notts TV, Helen Barnes, over at Loving 80s Music, has caught up with none other than Midge Ure. I know, one of the co-creators of Band Aid and a music legend in his own right. The Ultravox frontman will bring his A Man of Two Worlds tour to the Royal Concert Hall next May, and after tickets for that one were released, Helen caught up with Midge to talk all things Nottingham, Live Aid, Band Aid, and what fans can expect.
Well, every record that I've made in my career has had an instrumental or two on there. I love instrumental music, always have, but I don't get the chance to play it very often. So I devised this Man of Two Worlds, one world being the songs that everyone knows me for, the other world being this instrumental music, this textural stuff. And I devised this tour to play the songs that people know and love. You know, the stuff that you heard a couple of weeks ago, the hits and the album tracks and stuff that they all love, and do them in blocks, do them kind of connected so that you sit there and you go on a journey. So I'm going to do these blocks connected by an instrumental piece. So for the entire evening, you can get up and dance. There'll be moments where you can just sit down and chill and listen to the music, and visually that will be reflected on stage, and sonically there's no sound coming off stage because everything is going through the sound system, just like a recording studio. So I want to take people on this little journey with me through the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the atmosphere, different atmospheres that music can create.
This is such a clever idea, Midge. Are these sort of songs, instrumental pieces then that have never been heard by your fans before?
Well, maybe never been heard live or heard very rarely live. I won't be doing loads of them, but it's a nice way to break it up. See, the last tour that I did in the UK, fully electronic, full band, full rock on guitars and all of that stuff. And in the middle of it, I decided that we were just going to stop all that. I picked up an acoustic guitar and we all sat on the edge of the drum riser, one with a violin and one with a keyboard and one with a mandolin and me with an acoustic guitar. And we played a couple of songs like that. And it was the polar opposite of what we'd just been doing.
Yeah.
And everybody loved it.
Yeah.
I'd spent all the money doing all the lights and the flashing and this and that and the staging and the whatever. And the simplest thing that we did, because it was so different from what they'd just seen for an hour, was the bit that people walked away and said, I loved that bit, But had we done an entire evening of that, people would be saying, well, it's time you put on your electric guitar and made a bit of a noise. So giving people a bit of everything that you've done over your career in one show is what Man of Two Worlds is all about. You have no task to perform if you don't have a job. It's like watching paint dry. Yeah. And most people who haven't experienced...
It's not really, I don't really think we could say that watching Midge is like watching paint dry.
The hour and a half to 2 hours you're on stage, maybe that's interesting. But the rest of it, it's like repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over. And maybe musicians are just simple creatures. And we kind of like that. We like the sound check. We like watching the equipment getting put up. We like travelling overnight. We like doing all of that stuff. But to anyone on the outside watching it, they think it's a rock and roll lifestyle that you've got. It's pretty simple. It's pretty a nice cup of coffee and a cake is a highlight of the day.
So you're coming to Nottingham, the Royal Concert Hall. We love that place. You're coming to Nottingham in May next year, end of May, isn't it? Anything then for people that will be watching this thinking, I'm tempted.
Yeah, and if it's one of those shows that if you don't really know, if you only know Vienna and you only know Fade to Grey or whatever, come along. There's a lot more in there that you will recognise than you would think you would. And the band are fantastic. My band are just they're multi-instrumentalists. They are so good at what they do. It's just it's a lovely experience. So if you fancy it, come along.
Fantastic. And finally, last weekend I was watching Live Aid when they were broadcasting it again, 40 years on. Just tell us a little bit about that. Were you watching?
I did. I watched some of it. Again, there are parts of it I didn't see on the day. I still haven't seen all the American side of things because after Live Aid I went to bed because I'd just flown in from Los Angeles the day before. I watched the documentaries. I thought they were brilliantly done and very fair and very balanced and told the story a lot better than people think. I think people know bits of it and then fill in the gaps themselves. And the reality is the documentary showed the full thing.
What a great chat. Love that. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Midge. It's time for your sport now, and we're starting with Nottingham Forest and playmaker Morgan Gibbs-White, who's put pen to paper on a surprising new deal at the City Ground. Reds fans thought their love affair with the club's number 10 was coming to an end after Spurs triggered his release clause. But he's agreed to stay on with Nuno Espirito Santo's side in a deal lasting until summer 2028. And in a new video where he can be seen with owner Marinakis, Gibbs-White praised the club's trajectory since he arrived in 2022.
I'm delighted. So thank you to Mr. Marinakis for believing in me. I feel like we've been on a roller coaster of a journey, but I've felt the love instantly from the very first moment I stepped into the doors. We've had difficult times, but we've had a lot of highs. And last year was really, really exciting. We got to showcase what we're about and what we're trying to build as a team. And I feel like Mr. Marinakis is the base of that. So I was delighted to sign that. We've built that culture inside the dressing room, and I feel like that's what strived us all the way through. The manager's been incredible since he's come in. The fans as well. The fans have been absolutely amazing.
Well, his comments came moments after the Reds fell to their first pre-season defeat at the hands of Fulham. Nuno Espirito Santo named a string of academy players in his first half lineup, as well as a first appearance for the new signing, Jaya Cunha, beg your pardon. But Fulham took a 2-0 lead into the break thanks to a Harry Wilson brace. Nuno fielded an entirely different 11 in the second half, but Fulham made it 3-0 thanks to Andreas Pereira. Goal scorer Chris Wood reduced the deficit for Forest, but it wasn't enough to pull anything back from the game. And Notts County were also in action this weekend, and they secured a 2-2 draw at home to Cardiff on Saturday. Barry Cotter and Alassana Jatta scored an excellent goal to a draw with the League One side, bringing an end to their pre-season fixtures ahead of this weekend's League Two opener with Newport. And speaking after the match, head coach Martin Patterson said he's learnt a lot from his side and the match.
They've come here with a League One team that is very good. So I knew it would be a really good test, and I'm pleased because when I watched the first half, they dominated, let's not lie, they did. So I had to change a few things at half time. It was clear that they had us overloaded out wide, so I needed to change the shape a little bit. That's fine, that's things that we have to do inside games. And I thought there was an added aggression on both sides of the ball in the second half, which I wanted. I think that's why the coaching staff half-time is really important, to relay these messages about how we play when we're at Meadow Lane.
Cricket now, and Nottinghamshire's Lyndon James says he felt the side played well across their 4-day county championship match with Hampshire, which ultimately ended in a draw. Worksop-born James hit a double century to set Hampshire a tall hill to climb, but the match ended in a stalemate after the hosts were unable to finish their second innings by the end of play. Speaking afterwards, though, the batsman said it was a great feeling to score 2 tons in front of his family.
I guess it's something, as I say, you don't think about too much. It's about kind of what's required from you, I guess, for the team at the time. And it felt like, all my job was to build a partnership with Hainsey first and foremost. Obviously, Craig team batted beautifully on probably the tougher conditions in the whole game. So, just build a partnership with him. And then, thankfully, it was just, it was my day, I guess. I think, I've always talked about how much, obviously, it means to play for this club. And, obviously it makes it even more special. Thankful Mum and Dad were able to be here as well, so obviously they saw it, and to be obviously raise my bat to them is very special.
And Georgia Elvis's half-century and 3 wickets from Sarah Glenn weren't enough for the Blaze to reach the Vitality Blast final on Sunday. The side were edged by the Bears to settle for 3rd place in this year's competition, having been bowled out for 143 as they chased a target of 163 runs set by their victors. However, the Bears then went on to lose the final at the Oval, falling to defeat against Surrey. And it's time for your look at your picture of the day. Now look at this absolutely brilliant photo taken by Notts photographer Steve Plewinski. Love that. Don't forget to tag us on socials at Notts_TV to get your image shown on the telly. Weather time now, and today's been a mixed bag, hasn't it? It started off sunny, but those clouds crept in. The sun's coming back this evening though, with a high of 21 and a low of 13. It'll be a cloudy one tomorrow with spots of rain in the morning, highs of 20, lows of 50. But the sun is back on Wednesday. The temperatures are back up too, with a high of 24 and a low of 15. And that is the end of the show. Mark Dennison is back with you tomorrow to do it all over again. But until then, from everyone on the team here at Notts Today, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon. I'm Emma Caldwell. Bye-bye.